Now, this is a great thing. I'm a sports guy. I love that sports are mentioned in the Bible. Competition is a good thing. Sports are a great thing. It's an awesome place to learn teamwork. It's an awesome place to learn how to obey your coach. It's an awesome place to learn work ethic. Sports are wonderful. It's great. And here they are. He says, now the athlete has got to be obedient. He's got to compete according to the rules. He's got to compete according to the rules. Now, these Greek athletes, they would spend 10 months in preparation before they would go into their race. So they're obeying the rules, and they're 10 months. So you find athletes, and you're going to find that they're obedient on their diet, they're obedient on their practice, they're obedient to their coaches, they're obedient to the rules of the game. They've got it because there's a focus of the soldier, there's an obedience of the athlete. So if God's going to use us, we got to be focused on the things that matter. And at the same time, we have to be obedient and walk with God and do what God wants us to do, to operate in intimacy ways of sexuality, to operate in the ways that God says, to be in places of purity, all these different places that we're obedient to the Lord. He says, okay, that's the kind of guy I use. That's the kind of gal I use. That's a tool in my hand. Now, I don't know if this will bring back any memory for those of y'all way back when, the 1980 Boston Marathon. This is a very interesting story. If you want to get lost on YouTube today, you just type in Rosie Ruiz, Boston Marathon 1980, okay? There's no football games today, so you got all sorts of time to be able to do this. I kind of got lost. You know how you can do one more video, one more 10-minute, one more of this. And it is a fascinating story. Here's Rosie Ruiz. Rosie Ruiz lived in New York. She went into the New York Marathon. She started running, and she decided, well, this isn't really for me. So she got on a subway. And she went to the end of the marathon for the New York Marathon, and she faked like she had hurt her ankle at the finish line. So they finished, and they gave her a time of 2 hours and 56 minutes and such seconds, and they thought that she had finished. Well, that time was a qualifying time to go to the Boston Marathon. So she took a subway from the front of the New York Marathon to the back of the New York Marathon, faked like she was hurt, qualified for the Boston Marathon, ended back up at her office in New York, and all of her coworkers said, well, Rosie, you go, girl. We put a pool of money together, and we're sending you to Boston, and we're going to pay for the whole thing. Okay. So she goes to Boston, which is the oldest marathon in the world, besides the original marathon when they ran from Marathon, 26 miles in Greece. But oldest marathon, I'm pretty sure in the world, maybe just the country, but it's an old one. And so here we are, we've got this, and you've got to qualify for it. This is the granddaddy of them all. This is a big deal. And so she decides she's going to run in the Boston Marathon. So she starts running, and she can't really run very well. So she decides, you know what? And she takes another train to the end of the Boston Marathon. And she gets into the crowd, and she's standing there, and then she stumbles out of the crowd and starts running to the finish line about a mile left. She made a mistake, though. She didn't realize she was going to be the first woman that would finish the race, and she would win the Boston Marathon. Now, we wouldn't have been talking about this if she would have been like the 58th lady that finished the race. She not only finished the race, she finished it in the third best time, like in history or something, and took off 20 minutes of her time 6 months earlier in the New York Marathon. So she finishes the Boston Marathon, fakes it, but she comes across, and everybody that's like a pro runner's like, she doesn't look like a competition runner. We didn't see her at any of the checkpoints along the way. We've never heard of her in this worldwide endeavor. She's wearing a short sleeve shirt that all good runners wear, a tank top that's very lightweight. She's wearing like a heavier weight short sleeve shirt, and she really doesn't look that tired, and it's not that much sweat on her. But she gets can you imagine? She's like, oh my goodness, she gets the gold thing. She gets the hand, and she's like, this has gone further than I wanted it to go. And isn't that what sin does? It takes you further than you want to go and costs you more than you want to pay. So now she's on interviews and on interviews. Let me show you a picture of her faking it. I mean, you see her shirt? That's not a pro runner shirt. Her hair's a little messed up, but not 26 miles messed up. Nobody saw her in this whole thing. She went to her grave saying she won the Boston Marathon. She went to her grave saying she won the Boston Marathon. Now, maybe there's probably other mental stuff going on. She didn't compete according to the rules, and they took the crown, They disqualified her and they gave it to the woman who actually did win and should have won. It was the professional runner. Everybody was watching the whole time because they knew, you know who the best are in these sort of things. And athletes compete toward the rules, for the rules. We walk in obedience. And if we're going to disciple and pour our lives into somebody else, then he says, okay, you're going to be an athlete and you're going to have to compete toward the rules. You're going to have to obey the rules. Hey, thanks for watching. To find out more about Houston's First, you can subscribe to our channel or you can go to houstonsfirst.org.